So FK8 what I have here is the Denso coil that people are saying, oh, the Denso coil is bigger, so it must have a higher output. That's not true, and that's not how it works. You have different drivers internally inside that drive the power that goes to the primary coil and then to jumps the secondary coil, and that's where your output comes from. So when you're doing it, some of the things you must test first of all is resistance. And right here we can see between the two we have a lower resistance in the Denso coil. Let me get a good connection there. So based upon the reading, we have about a 30% lower resistance. That means that voltage has to return back to the ECU. Anything in a scenario with a lower resistance, for example, say like a subwoofer on a car, the lower resistance puts more electricity back to the amplifier, can short an amplifier out. Well, the same thing goes for cars. The other thing is the actual controller inside is wired differently, because here I have no continuity between the number 1 and number 3 terminal, whereas on the Denso coil I have continuity there, meaning I have a wiring circuit in there. So before you guys go think about throwing the FL5 coil on an FK8, that is a huge mistake. You take a gigantic risk of frying your ECU. The same thing goes for the Accord guys. This is a big risk. You don't know what kind of secondary side effects it have inside the ECU, both shorting out and the signal coming back through the third terminal is different. So this can create other problems in the systems, like basically overloading an internal driver in the ECU, possibly sending back an incorrect signal, therefore outputting incorrect ignition timing, incorrect charge rate of the actual coil. You have to change the charge rate for a coil when you change to a different coil. If you don't change the charge rate, you can both overcharge and undercharge the coil. When you undercharge the coil, the spark output is insufficient and the car will break up under load. When you overcharge the coil, what actually happens is you start frying coils and possibly shorting and frying the ECU. So, lesson learned, FK8 we test before you put out. So before you go buy a FL5 coil, buy a set of my FK8 upgraded coils. They're much safer. I underrate them. I say 10% spark output, but realistically it's closer to 20% at about a 6,000 volt increase in discharge. So that's it, guys. Hope you learned something. Be careful. Don't just go throwing parts on your car that aren't tested and aren't actually checked out. Thank you.